Hello and welcome back if you are returning, and a big hello to all the new subscribers. Thank you very much. And I want to send a big shout out to Paul Cook as well, and to all the people that have came over from his channel. Oh my god, you guys are awesome, man. Thank you so much. Welcome all. Right, I'm going to start this right off with some evidence of some giant reports, some giant findings. I'm going to be going through some articles that were printed in between the 1900s, well, from 1900 to 1910. Okay, so jumping right in, this is from the Evesham Standard and West Midland Observer, Saturday 16th of April 1910. Okay, and this article say that the headline is Giant Skeleton. Okay, and it says an interesting archaeological discovery has been made at Ballinahalla near Moycullen, County Galway. Some workmen in the employment of Mr. James Lardner came upon a complete skeleton measuring 8 foot 5.5 inches, and subsequently unearthed an old sword bearing the following inscription in Gaelic: Donach O'Keefe, AD 1231. So that's quite interesting. That is, like, where are these bones? Like, where is this? That's what I want to know. Where is this skeleton now? Because if you're onto this giant thing, like myself, I've got Giants on Record by the great Hugh Newman. So I've proper, like, deep dived into giants, and there is no giant bones on show, but yet there's like thousands of reports of giants. So I want to know, where are these giant skeletons now, and why are they not on show? You know, it's an interesting thought, isn't it? Because surely, you know, these kind of things would bring in money, because as we know that in the circus and that, they used to have giants. So really, I don't see any reason as why they would keep it from us if, you know, we know that there was giants in the circus. It's just really odd. It's really strange. I'm going to move on to the next one, and this is actually from the 1900s, okay? This is the Bridgnorth Journal and South Shropshire Advertiser, Saturday the 1st of September 1900, and the headline is The Boy Giant. Well, it's like a subtitle. Okay, Mr. Olga, the Lambeth Giant, right? Now, I actually searched in this and I couldn't find it, but I could find a Mr. Olga, the Cardiff Giant, which is strange, but I can't find anything about Mr. Olga, the Lambeth Giant, okay? And if you want to look into this, please feel free. If you can find anything, let me know, please. I would love to know. Okay, Mr. Olga, the Lambeth Giant, who at present holds the head-to-heels record, had better look to his laurels. There is a little boy down at Haywards Heath in Sussex, just 15 years of age and already 6 foot 6 inches in height, whose rate of growth is like that of a scarlet runner. It is true that Mr. Olga himself is still growing too, but 3/4 of an inch per annum will be no good to him in competition with Hubert Walton, the Hayward Heath's champion. Puffer, that is Master Walton's alias, adds at least 3 inches to his stature every year. On the drawing room wall, marked in pencil, was a scheme of Puffer's inch records at various ages. At the tender age of 2, he had already left the yard mark far behind. 9 years ago saw the register at 4 foot 6 inches, while 6 foot was reached when the boy was just 13. So that article there is stating that the current giant of Lambeth, apparently, better watch out, because there's a new giant boy in town who's already surpassed 6 foot inches when he was 13. So, you know, it'd be interesting to see what happened to that boy. And like I said, if anybody finds out any information, please feel free to share it, because I would love to know. But it's just interesting how they're talking about it like that, and it's not spoke of today. It's very interesting. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next article, and this is from the Leominster News and Northwest Herefordshire and Radnorshire Advertiser, Friday 19th of July 1901. And this subtitle is "A Chinese Giant," in connection with the bequest of M. Pierre Court, who, being of opinion that the average Frenchman is too short, left a sum of money as marriage portions for persons of abnormal height. A Chinese giant says that Clay has arrived at Southampton on his way to Rouen, Rouen. He is unmarried, and under the term of the will he must obtain a bride of similar proportions before he reaches Rouen. So that's saying that this Chinese giant has arrived in Southampton on his way to this place called Rouen, Rouen. Honestly, it's not Rome. If it was Rome, I'd know it was Rome, but it's not. It's Rouen. And it's saying that he's unmarried, and under that term of Mr. M. Pierre Court, if he gets married, he will be left a sum of money. So that's just mad in itself, and that in itself is mad. That there would even advertise something like that. But I thought it was very interesting, so I thought I'd share it. Okay, the next one is Tenbury Wells Advertiser, Tuesday, 8th of October, 1901. Okay, subtitle, "A Shoal of Giants." Every now and then, another giant keeps turning up at Rouen. Oh, my life. What is this Rouen? Rouen. Okay, I'm going to find out. 1 second. Okay, so Rouen is a city on the River Seine in northern France, and it is the prefecture of the region of Normandy and the departure of Seine Maritime. And apparently it's got endless cobbled lanes and one of the most impressive clock towers in France, and a cathedral that was once the tallest building in Europe. So there we go, learn something new every day. Right, back to this now. So every now and then another giant keeps turning up at Rouen, anxious to convince the executors of the Comte de Pierre Court that he's the biggest man in France, and therefore entitled to a half portion of the Count's £4,000 legacy, writes a Paris correspondent. The Pierre Court heirs have already begun suit to have the giant couple Klaus in the Count's will set aside, averring that the testator was not of same mind when he stipulated that method of improving the breed of Frenchmen. In the meantime, the documents in the case are filed at the mayor's office and are accumulating amazingly. They comprise written applications enough to create the impression that there are not more than a handful of citizens in the whole country less than 7 foot high. So that's quite interesting, isn't it? Saying that the tallest man in France is entitled to a £4,000 legacy. So that's interesting. Very interesting. I mean, why? I'm going to have to look into this because that's intrigued me. So that's from 1901. And they was looking for giants. That's what it sounds like. And that bit there when he says, when he stipulated that method of improving the breed of Frenchmen. So, like, what does it mean, improving the breed of Frenchmen? Very interesting. I'm going to have to dig a bit deeper into that. If anybody knows, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know. Okay, moving on. The next article is Tenbury Wells Advertiser, Tuesday, 18th of February, 1902. Okay, so these are like over 100 years ago. Let me just have a look. And the subtitle is "A Giant in Hospital." Constantine, the young Swiss giant, 8 foot in height, who in 1898 and 1899 made all Paris run to the Folies Bergère in Paris, is lying very ill in the hospital at Mons, close to the Belgian frontier. Gangrene has set in both of Constantine's enormous feet, Each of them is a trifle over 32 inches long, and one of them has already had to be amputated, while the doctors fear that it will not be possible to save you. That right there. His foot is 32 inches long. Well, my leg is, my inside leg is 36 inch, 35, 36, right? So that's nearly as long as my leg. Like, I can get away with 32-inch trousers, like, as, you know, like, shortcut trousers. But my jeans are usually like, well, no, they're like 34. Yeah, sorry, 34, not 36. They're 34-inch leg, you know. So 2 inches longer than my leg. And that's the size, 2 inches less than my leg. And that's the size of his foot. I can't get over that. That is amazing. So basically, the average size of someone's leg, inside leg, is the size of his foot. It's incredible. And one of them has already had to be amputated, while the doctors fear that it will not be possible to save the other. I remember the sensation behind the scenes at the Folies Bergère, a Paris correspondent writes, when Constantine made his appearance there 3 years ago, he arrived in an immense railway wagon from which he had the greatest difficulty in extricating himself. His appearance was the signal for a general sauve coupote, I don't know what that is, amid shrieks of D.K.J. Pure. Heavens, how frightened I am. That's what the translation is, obviously. From the startled dancers, that French threw me then. From the startled dancers who had not expected him to be so big, I was introduced to the great man before the show was over, and I had to stand upon a chair placed on a table as to talk more comfortably to him, for he was rather deaf. No, I'm sure he weren't deaf. I'm sure it was because he was so tall. If he's got a 32-inch long foot, that's, I can't believe that. Look, that's really shocked me. That's, like, just think about that. That's incredible. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about that. That's, measure your own foot and see how far off it is from 32 inches. It's incredible. Okay, right, moving on to the next one. Worcestershire Chronicle. And I'm just going to add that all of these articles are articles from England. So I just wanted to keep it in. Some of them are reporting from around the world as well. Like, obviously, I will say if it is, like, not just England, sorry, Ireland and Scotland and whatnot. But I have just searched, like, the British Isles. But I will be looking into other countries, obviously. I just wanted to focus on the beautiful British Isles that it is, the many names that have been given us. I found out the other day that actually she was called the Emerald Isle, which is quite interesting because of how green the British Isles are, you know, and I just think that that's so fitting. And obviously Avalon as well. But I don't know, there's more to the UK. There's definitely more to the UK than we've been told. Well, just the same as all over the world. But obviously I'm from the UK, so that's why I'm focusing. Especially the Midlands, you know, obviously I'm from the Midlands, so my space of search is here. You know, I have got my places all over the world where I'm fascinated with and I will be focusing on, but for the moment I'm just doing searches that are from, you know, newspapers that are local to the West Midlands, because obviously other people are going to be doing ones for their areas and stuff like that, so it keeps it all fresh, don't it? So, you know, it's there's a lot anyway, just from the Midlands, and obviously it reports on papers from London and stuff like that, not just the Midlands. Like I said, it is the whole of the UK, but I always search like the West Midlands first, because obviously if I know a place that's local to me as well, I can go and see and stuff like that. It just makes more sense. So yeah, back to this Worcestershire Chronicle Saturday, 18th of July 1903. During excavations for the foundations of some new houses at Holbeach, Lincolnshire, the complete skeleton of a human giant has been unearthed. The skeleton measured 9 foot 2 inches and was in perfect condition, not a single tooth being missing. Near the remains was found a curious key. Right, a key! The spot where the discovery has been made is recorded by Stokely, the famous antiquary who was born at Holbeach, as the site of an old Roman Catholic chapel dedicated to St. Peter. Wow. I don't know what to say about that. A curious key. I want to see this key. Okay, I need to see this key. And like, how big is the key? If he's 9 foot 2, this is incredible. And again, I want to see the bones. I want to see where is this? Because surely this should be like a spectacle. You know, this is something that you'd want to hold on to. So I just think this is just more proof that loads of things have been covered up. Our whole history has been covered up. None of it's true. I don't believe any of it is. Nothing that we're taught is true. Nothing at all. And the more that I learn, the more I'm uncovering it all. And it's a lot for one person, it really is. But I'm glad that there's people out there that are doing the same thing. Because, you know, we all need places where we can go, where we can feel like we fit in and feel like we're not doing this on our own, because it's crazy. Like, you know, and some of the things that you uncover, you think, wow, well, where is this? And then obviously you got people saying, oh, there's no proof. You know, well, yeah, well, this is our point. There's records of these things, but there's no proof of it. So why is that? Because, you know, like, put it this way, it'd be different now. If they dug up giant skeletons now, right, with the way the world is now, they couldn't hide it because it'd be snapped with a camera phone. It's easily to destroy stuff back then, because obviously there was no cameras, like not when everybody walked around with cameras, and there was no like social media and stuff like that, so people couldn't put things that was access to the whole world straight away. And obviously people back then, it was run by societies, and if they wanted a narrative to stick, they would make the narrative stick. So they would pay people off, like they paid universities off and stuff like that, to run with the narrative that we're all being taught, that we've been taught, that our children are being taught, you know. And hopefully if enough people expose it, they'll have to change it, they'll have to rewrite history. And I'm not saying that to favour anybody at all, like that's not my intention here. My intention is just to find out the truth, like who we really are as human beings, you know, because it's not just this, like it's not just what they're telling us that we are, that we just eat, sleep, and, you know, do it all over again, eat and sleep, do it all over again. You know, that's not what we're here to do. We're souls at the end of the day, and they just want to keep us existing as slaves. And so the further away they push us from what magical beings we are, and you can take that in any kind of way, and stop us from finding out the truth and the magic of this world, you know, it keeps us further away. So we keep coming back and doing the same thing over and over again. So that's what my making of it is anyway. So yeah, but what do you think of that? That's just incredible. So there we go, 9 foot 2 inch skeleton. I'd love to see the bones. That's all I'm going to say about these ones, because 9 foot 2, that's tall. That is tall. Right, we're going to move on to the next one. This is Leominster News and North West Herefordshire and Radnorshire again advertiser, and this is 1904. The subtitle is Giants in London. Okay, the Kilty who is at present delighting London with his 7 foot 2.5 inch of bone and muscle is a chill compared with some of the Brobdingans that the metropolis has seen. I don't know what that word means. It could be somebody's name. I don't know. Chang, the Chinese giant, could give Roderick Bain Mackenzie a good 5.5 inches, while Big Sam, the gigantic Scotsman, who was porter to George IV, boasted his 8 foot, which enabled him to look over the gates of Carlton House with comfort. Taller than Sam was Charles O'Brien, who measured 8 foot 4 inches. O'Brien had a good conceit on him and a mortal dread of the doctors. In order that they should not get hold of his body after death, he desired to be buried at sea, but his last wishes were unfulfilled, and for the sum of £500, the great surgeon Hunter obtained possession of the giant skeleton. See, now that's a shame, that is. That's a real shame. You know, that was his request. It really saddens me. And again, where is the bones? Where is the skull? Where's the skeleton? Where is it? You know, surely if you pay £400 for it. And this is in 1904. So there we go. Another account of giants, and that's in London. Okay, moving on. This is Leominster. News and North West Herefordshire and Radnorshire again advertiser. And the date is Friday the 10th of February 1905. Okay. Russian giant's arrival. A remarkable scene was witnessed at Victoria Station, London on Tuesday, when the giant Machnow, who is engaged to perform at the London Hippodrome, arrived from Berlin via Flushing. About half an hour prior to the time appointed for the train to arrive, a pantachinon was drawn up. I don't know what that word is. A pantechnicon or something was drawn up to one of the platforms of the station. The interior of the van was draped with curtains, and about half the space was occupied by a bed 9 foot 6 inches long and 4 foot 6 inches wide. Okay, so that's huge. When the giant emerged from the carriage, he towered several feet above the heads of all the people present. He was attired in a Russian military uniform consisting of a long drab coat, crimson trousers and top boots. On his head was a white scarafan. He was accompanied by his wife and child, the latter about 3 months old. Born in Kharkov, Russia, he is 23 years of age, weighs over 32 stone, and is 9 foot 9 inches high. 32 stone. On entering the Pantechinon, I don't know what that word is. I'm so sorry if I'm saying it wrong and it's irritating you. Just let me know what it is. Entering the Pantechinon, accompanied by his wife and manager and the officials connected with the hippodrome, he sat down on the bed and seemed to take a special delight in exhibiting his wearing apparel and jewellery. Taking off a ring from his first finger, he handed it to the manager, who showed it round. The latter then, taking a number of coins from his pocket, passed 7 half-crowns through the ring at one time. Next, Machnow held up his hand, which was found to measure 1 foot 7.5 inches from the point of the finger to the wrist, while his foot was 24 inches long. See, this geezer's foot is less long. That don't sound right. It's shorter than that other person's foot, because that other giant's foot was 32 inches, and his is 24 inches. So that geezer had big feet, man. He must have had big feet to have a 32-inch long foot, and he was a giant. So there you go, 24 inches long. This giant's foot is. Okay. So round his head measured nearly 3/4 of a yard. The manager stated that the giant's breakfast consisted of 2 quarts of milk, 12 eggs and 2 loaves. For his lunch, he has from 2 to 3 pounds of meat, 5 pounds of potatoes and a quart of beer. His dinner consists of soup, from 3 to 5 pounds of meat, with bread, potatoes and 2 quarts of beer, and for supper he has 10 to 15 eggs, bread and butter and a quarter of tea. Whoa. The Pantechinon, on leaving the station, was driven up Grosvenor Place, and on reaching Hyde Park Corner, a stop was made and the giant was photographed at the door of the van. A large crowd watching the proceedings with considerable interest. The journey was then resumed along Piccadilly, the bottom of Regent Street. Right, this is really jumbled, so I'm sorry, I keep stalling. The bottom of Regent Street, Pall Mall, or Pall Mall, and the Strand. A large crowd followed the Pantechinon, which was drawn by 3 horses along the prominent thoroughfares. On reaching the law courts, the horses were turned round and drawn up in front of a clothier shop, where the most interesting and amusing scene took place, namely measuring the giant for a dress suit. On entering the shop with some difficulty, one of the assistants facetiously asked the manager whether an Eton suit was required. Mounting a pair of steps, the tailor called out the remarkable measurement as follows: shoulder to waist 32 inches, length of coat 65 inches, across shoulders 31 inches, shoulder to elbow 36 inches, total length of sleeve 55 inches, across front of chest 30 inches, round the chest 60 inches, and round the waist 55 inches. Wow, that's a huge waist. For the side seam of the trousers, it was found that there was no tape. Does it say? Hang on a minute, sorry. No, it doesn't. I was just trying to see if there was the leg. Oh yeah, the legs coming next. And round the waist was 55 inches. For the side seam of the trousers, it was found that there was no tape long enough to measure it at one time. Whoa. A circumstance which caused some merriment, in which Machnau joined. Side seam of trousers, continued the tailor, 72 inches. Total length inside leg, 50 inches. Wow. That's like, that's amazing. 50-inch inside leg. Thigh, 40 inch. Knee, 30 inch. Bottom of trousers, 24 inches. Wow. That's like the size of a waist. When the measuring had been completed, the tailor explained that effect of these figures was that over 15 yards of cloth, double width would be required, or in other words, as much as we would make 5 ordinary suits of clothes. Re-entering the Pantechinon, or whatever it is, the giant was driven to the hippodrome, where special quarters have been provided for him. Well, I wonder what kind of special quarters they were. Probably special quarters that were down below, do you think? You know what I mean? What was all underneath these buildings? But wow, that was incredible. Like, they actually measured him. That's so them, those measurements are recorded as well. So this geezer was real, you know what I mean? So anybody that's doubting whether we had giants or not, we did. Even to this, like, you know, in our recent times, like the 1900s, more recent than, you know, the Stone Age and stuff like that. But we had giants walking among us, but there was very few in between, because I believe the race died out, like it got killed off, and only a few survived. Right, moving on to the next one. Cannock Chase Courier, Saturday, 19th of August, 1905. Okay, the subtitle is Beaten by Competition. An extraordinary scene was witnessed in the streets of Hamburg the other day, when Cashapp, the Kyrgyz giant, who until recently was the chief attraction at local exhibitions throughout Germany, collapsed on the pavement for want of food. Cashapp, who measures little less than Machnau, the Russian giant, has since the latter's advent entirely lost his popularity, and with it has means of livelihood. Now, I've just mentioned Machnau in the last article, so that's quite strange how that one links after that one. Okay, unable to obtain a fresh engagement, he applied when half starved at the workhouse for indoor relief, promising to pay for his keep as soon as he should succeed in procuring a fresh engagement. So he was trying to look for work, basically. The workhouse authorities, however, were somewhat against the idea of being burdened with a giant, and reluctantly declined to give him hospitality. So what do they mean, burdened with a giant? Like, where did that come from? Like, when you're burdened with something, it means that, you know, you don't want to carry it forward. You don't want to take it with you. Oh, obviously it's not yours to take in the first place, clearly, but it's like you're burdened with something that you don't want. You're burdened with it, like you feel like it's heavy on you. So why would a giant? Surely a giant would be a good thing, because one, they're bigger so they can reach things. Two, they're stronger so they can carry things. And three, it's diversity. So I don't see what, unless they was, I don't know, unless they was not good-hearted. I can only think that would be the only reason why you wouldn't want to have that kind of person around you, is if maybe there's tales of them not being good. Because burdened with a giant, I don't know why you use that term, unless it was like frowned upon to be in a company of them. I don't know, there's many different ways you can look on that, but I just think it's really unusual. Like, I think it's unusual anyway, because I wouldn't feel burdened by it. I wouldn't. I'd be excited. I would be excited. Why aren't they excited by it? You know what I mean? And reluctantly declined to give him hospitality. Thus, the wretched giant wandered aimlessly about from street to street, followed by groups of jeering children, until at last he was overcome with sheer weakness. Cashapp was finally assisted by a party of agricultural labourers just returned from harvesting, who have revived him with brandy, escorted him to a restaurant where he partook of a meal consisting of 3 plates of beef soup, 4 pounds of beef steak, 3 portions of ham and eggs, 2 heaped up plates of potatoes and cabbage, and 14 apple tarts, the whole washed down with 6 pints of beer. Wow. Okay. The harvesters were somewhat aghast at the amount consumed by the giant. When the bill was presented to them, it was swallowed a considerable. It swallowed a considerable portion of the money they had made in harvesting. Later, followed by a band of noisy children bearing light torches, he was escorted to the outlying camping ground of the agriculturers and provided with a bed for the night. I'll tell you exactly what happened there. They was like, listen, yeah, you've spent all of our money, so now you've got to earn it back. So, and honestly, like what I said, that would be the best thing, for a giant to do, wouldn't it be, back then? Like, you'd think that they'd have loads of money from helping on farms and stuff like that, unless they was shunned from society. For what? For what reason? Like, why would they be shunned? So, think about it, really think about it. Think about the words that these people are using when they're reporting about them. Why would they wouldn't want to be around a giant? Something somewhere's got to have happened for the prejudice to have formed, isn't it? That's what I think. Well, anyway, moving along to the next one. Leominster News and North West Herefordshire and Radnorshire Advertiser. Friday, 19th of July, 1907, okay? Giant children. 2 children who, it is claimed, are the biggest in the world are now on a visit from New Zealand to relatives at Wednesbury. Now, Wednesbury's not far from me, so this is why I thought, wow, this is quite funny. Of which town their father is a native, okay? The children, a boy and a girl, were born at Foxton in the north of New Zealand. The girl, aged 13, is 5 foot 2 inches in height and weighs 17 stone. You're getting that? 17 stone, right? The boy, aged 11, is splendidly formed, stands 6 foot 3 inches high, weighs 41 pound. Oh, what's that say? I can't. It's all jumbled. Sorry. Give me a second. Let me just adjust this so I can see if I can see it. Weighs. Okay, I can't get the exact stonage because it's all blurred and it's just coming up as AOST. But it does say 41B after it, so I don't know what that means. And has a chest measurement of 52 inches, while the calf of his leg is 25 inches round. The calf of his leg is 25 inches round. He's heavier than his mother and his father combined, who are comparatively small people. The child giants look a picture of health, and to watch them playing with smaller children at marbles and other juvenile games is decidedly amusing. Albeit peril then was an exciting scene on the North Modes, a Saturday afternoon. Yeah, and that's it there. So that's where that ends. I'm sorry about that. The article's just literally jumbled all up on me, and I'm trying to make it out, and I'm gonna have to leave that one there. But that giant children, like, you know what I mean? Like, what? New Zealand, like, I can't believe how heavy. I mean, that's not normal, is it? Like, even for people that, like, even people that suffer with obesity and stuff like that, children don't get that heavy this day and age. You know, that's really really on the heavy side. That is shocked me. And that's an article about 2 children from New Zealand visiting their dad in Wednesbury, which is mad. Moving on to the next one. Okay. This is Leominster News and North West Herefordshire Radnorshire Advertiser, Friday the 29th of March 1907. And this is The Giant and the Giantess, romantic love story. All the elements of a real romance are wrapped up in the story of love of Mr. Clive Darrell, an Australian giant, for Miss Mariette, a Tyrolean giantess. Appearing at a London music hall, Mr. Barrell is a wealthy farmer doing Europe, and his ambition is to found a race of giants. He is 8 feet 8 inches high in his boots and broad in proportion. Miss Marielde, whom he first saw in Vienna, fulfilled his ideal of a wife, but an obdurate manager stood in the way of an introduction, and bouquets and bonbons availed nothing. From Vienna, the tall Marielde proceeded to Berlin, followed by her admirer, but no greater success awaited him in the German capital. Nothing daunted, however, he came on to London in her wake, and found from the advertisements that Miss Marielde was appearing at the Hippodrome. Every performance saw Mr. Darrell in one of the stores, but the manager remained heartless. Accordingly, on Thursday afternoon, the persevering suitor made a bold move, and standing up in the stalls, openly declared his love for the lady on the stage. The officials were unsympathetic. Mr. Darrell left the building, but he returned at night, and the afternoon scenes were repeated. The management then decided to refuse him admittance to future performances. Mr. With, however, was not at the end of his resources. He heard that the object of his affection was to undertake a motorcar journey to Portsmouth on Sunday, and in another motorcar he set out to lie in wait. Unfortunately, punctures brought his car to a standstill, and the other motor flashed past the mortified lover in a cloud of dust while he was effecting repairs. But, these accomplished, he gave chase and eventually caught up Miss Marielde at Guildford. This time his persistence guided him in an introduction, and the couple lunched together. Mr. Darrell improved the occasion by advancing his suit, and the lady's manager, although maintaining his opposition, consented after pressure. To write to her parents asking for permission for her to become engaged. Miss Marielde, it should be said, is 23 years of age, 8 feet 3 inches in height. Mr. Darrell is 24. Wow, so that's like a giant love story there, and that's amazing. That's really amazing. Like, 8 foot, you know what I mean? There's no, if somebody was 8 foot, they'd be classed as the tallest person, you know, in the world, wouldn't they? Because it goes down in the Guinness World Book of Records. Sultan Kosen is the tallest man in the world at the moment, and he's a Turkish farmer, and he is 8 foot 2 inches. So, you know, there you go. As I said, he would be classed as the tallest man in the world, and they're banging it out like like it's nothing, like all these 8-footers. Why aren't they calling it, oh yeah, the tallest person in the world and this, that, the other? Because obviously there's a lot of them about. So I reckon that's why that is. There's a lot of them all over the place. And it's not unusual for them to see giants popping up here and there, because obviously in the last article it said, oh, more and more keep arriving. So, you know, just keep all these things in your mind, because when they try and tell you that giants didn't exist and stuff like that, they was walking on this earth 100 years ago. So they did, you know. Moving on to the Nuneaton Observer, Friday the 4th of September 1908. The Cairn Giant. Now, I know we're all familiar with the Cairn Giant, okay? It's in Dorset. Nobody really knows who did it or why or anything like that. Well, clearly, it's clear why, you know, to show that giants were there. You know, it's clear, like, why else do it? You know, why? Okay, and the article says, the Cairn Giant, a monstrous ogre with club uplifted, which has stood out so prominently on the hillside close to the Dorset village of Corn, has just had its periodical revival. For some years, the giant's familiar figure has been sadly obscured by the ravages of time, but a subscription having been raised among local antiquarians and others to cover the cost, enormous quantities of fresh chalk have been rammed into the lines, which now stand out as fresh and clean as when they were first cut many centuries ago. The origin of the Cairn Giant is lost in the mists of antiquity. See, so even back then in 1908, they didn't know. It's lost in the mists of antiquity. So it's cool to know that, like, they did the chalk back then, though. Like, I thought that was quite a recent thing. So, you know, again, you learn something new every day. Moving on, Cannock Chase Courier, Saturday the 24th of July 1909. The subtitle is A Race of Giants. Duke Adolf Frederick of Mecklenburg has returned from a scientific expedition into the interior of German West Africa and tells marvellous stories about the athletic feats of a race of giants he discovered in the neighbourhood of Rwanda, to the northwest of the Victorian Nyanza. These magnificent specimens of humanity, averaging 7.5 to 8 feet in height, are remarkable for their sinewy muscles and grand physique. Almost all their time is spent in jumping and wrestling, and hand-to-hand fights with wild beasts are undertaken with nonchalance. The Duke saw several take high jumps over improved apparatus that exceeded 8.5 feet. These were performed without runs or springboards. So basically, this is just about a guy that went to the German West Africa and found a race of giants, basically just another culture that was bigger than him. So he just documented it, which is amazing. A scientific expedition. So that's cool. Scientific expedition. That was in 1909. Okay, and the next one we're going to be moving on to is Rugby Advertiser, Tuesday, 20th of April, 1909. This one I thought was amazing. And this is actually, I think this is the last one that we're going to be doing. I don't want to keep everybody on too long because it's been 43 minutes so far. So this one is about a giant tree, okay? Sicily boasts the largest tree in the world. It is known as the chestnut tree of 100 horses, and it is situated at the foot of Mount Etna. It has 5 enormous branches, each as large as an ordinary tree, issuing from a trunk which is 212 feet in circumference. Wow, a trunk that is 212 feet in circumference. So that's as big as like a cliff edge that I've been going to, like some of these cliff edges that I've been seeing. That is, I can't even put that into words what that is. Okay, and it goes on to say, a large hollow in the trunk is capacious enough to contain a flock of sheep. Its name originated in the story that Queen Joan of Aragon, with her nobility and their retinues, once took refuge from a violent storm under its spreading branches. Wow, that sounds so beautiful, you know. And I've just had a quick look, and there's actually a real. It's real. Like it really still exists today, and it's called. It is the chestnut of 100 horses. This chestnut is thought to be over 3,000 years old. Okay, so I'm going to attach the picture. It is composed of 3 large stems that perhaps use the same root system. If so, it would be also the largest tree in the world. Legend has it that Queen Joan of Aragon took shelter with all her knights under the branches of this huge tree following a storm. Oh my life, that's just literally what it says in the article. So that article is from 1909, okay? And so that's 120 years later. Is it 120? I don't know, 109 years later or whatever. And we're still talking about it. Like, the legend is still there. That is beautiful. That's what's giving me goosebumps, that has. Okay. Since then, the chestnut, also visited by Goethe and many other writers and artists, has been called the chestnut of 100 horses. Wow, it was already called that, wasn't it? Because obviously it's written in that article. But look at that, man. Just look at that tree. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Like, you don't see them everywhere. I'd love to have one of them trees behind me. I really would. Look at that. It's incredible. So that wraps up my findings on giants, skeletons, real giant people living in our time, like in our generation. Well, since the 1900s. I don't know what you class that as. It's just really interesting to see how giants were spoken about, how they were treated, how they were shunned, and how we haven't got any giant skeletons on show. You know, we've got plenty of dinosaur bones, we've got plenty of artifacts and dug up Native American you know, artifacts and stuff like that. But what about all these? Where's all this? I'd love to see these. So, you know, if anybody knows where there's any actual real giant bones on display, please let me know. Drop it in the comments, and I'll do a video about it. But yeah, I'm going to leave that there. I'm sorry for it being a long one, but obviously there's a lot of information to get in there. There was quite a few articles. I will be doing a part 2, as I have found some more, like, from, as I said, from other parts of the world. So it'd be interesting to go in a bit further in, you know, other areas. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much to everybody for being a part of this channel. Thank you for all your lovely comments. Thank you for your feedback. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. And once again, big up Paul. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of Paul's tigers. Yeah, so keep it locked. Thank you very much. I'm sending you lots of love, lots of light. Take care.